We all know those kids who barely seem to spend any time studying, but always get the most delicious grades. But did you know that we all follow pretty much the exact same formula? It's the same formula that's allowed me to come top of all my classes while spending 30 hours a week on this YouTube channel. Oh, and by the way, it's not natural talent. The first and most important part to this formula is called spaced repetition. And the reason why it's so important is it quite literally allows your brain to study while you're not studying. And no, I'm not going to tell you to listen to some subliminal affirmation thing on YouTube. This is a proven technique that actually works. So let's say we have our calendar and our test is on this Friday. What most people do is they spend time studying on Thursday night, Friday morning, and maybe even Wednesday night as well. If I have to spend 5 hours studying for the test, the worst thing I could do is split that 5 hours up on Thursday night and Friday morning. But it's not because you're going to be too tired to write the test. Obviously that is important, but the real reason is that the majority of your brain's filing into memory isn't actually done when you're learning the work. It's done when you are sleeping. So let's say in the first scenario, your test is on Friday morning and you study on Thursday night and Friday morning. You feel like you more or less know the information, so you write the test and you get a 75 or something. Instead, let's start studying on Sunday, but we only have to study for half an hour a day. So by the time you get to Thursday, you've only spent 2.5 hours studying, which means you spent less time, but I promise you will feel as ready, if not more prepared for this exam, because you're not only studying for 2.5 hours. Your brain is studying for 5 nights while you sleep. And I can guarantee you that is going to serve you so much better. Because as the spaced repetition principle states, you will know something so much better if you repeat it over a few days versus over a few hours. Alright, now the second ingredient is knowing which study technique to use. Because there's a lot. There's mind maps, summaries, rereading notes, color coding. Which of these are you supposed to do? Well, this answer is going to surprise you, but none of them. All the techniques I just mentioned are actually genuinely bad ways of studying for an exam. Now I know what you're thinking here. How can there be a bad way of studying for an exam when everyone studies in a different way, right? And to that I say, yes, everyone studies differently, but a lot of that is because we don't know how to study properly. Now I know I sound like a complete jerk here telling people you don't know how to study, but just listen to this, okay? You know how when you first learn how to type on a keyboard and you type one finger at a time, and then as you get more and more used to it, you start using a few fingers. Eventually you use all your fingers and soon you can type without even looking at the keyboard, right? The truth is that studying can work in the exact same way. But the difference is, no one really teaches you how to study properly. So we try to get as good as possible at studying by using techniques like rereading your notes or making summaries. But the message I'm trying to send here is that that is like trying to get really fast at typing with one finger at a time. Okay, Jaden, okay, so what is the best way to study? Well, the one that all the highest performing kids use is what's called active recall. You see, the problem is that we're actually working with two different skills here. There is remembering, which is getting the information into your head, but then there's also retrieval, which is getting that information back out of your head. And reading notes, making summaries, color coding, all of that stuff only focuses on the remembering part. But what do you need for the exam? You need retrieval. You need to get that information out of your head. And active recall is simply practicing this retrieval process. So how are we going to practice it? Well, the first and easiest way is to just do past papers, but not for the reason that most of you probably do past papers. We don't want to just memorize the answers and hope we get the same question in the test. Yes, that will happen sometimes, but the real reason this is so good for you is because it forces your brain to practice retrieving that information out of your head. Now, the second way to practice active recall is, and this is going to sound a bit strange, but just practice regurgitating information, everything that you can. But the key thing that the top students do is that they do this throughout the day randomly, not just when they're studying. You see, if you're taking a shower or you're brushing your teeth, your mind has nothing better to do. Genuinely, you might as well do some active recall. Why not? It's going to show you where your holes in your information are that you can't regurgitate. And what makes that a real killer strategy is that you're doing active recall with spaced repetition. And that is going to skyrocket your gains, trust me. Now, this is going to be pretty hard at first, but the more you do this, I promise you, you can get to a stage where for your less theoretical subjects, subjects, you can literally go through that entire syllabus in your head on the day of the exam. Okay, now if you're still watching, firstly, thank you for watching till the end. And because you're watching till the end, I'm gonna give you guys a bonus tip. So if you've been paying attention, you know that the reason the smartest kids seem to never need to study is because they focus on the way, the method that they study, instead of studying the longest amount of time. So this is going to take that to the next level. There's something called the Pareto principle, which basically says 80% of your results are going to come from only 20% of your effort. So if you want to study efficiently, you want to live in this part of the graph, because at this part, you're getting the most gains for your time. And as someone who studies to the point where I get these grades, I can tell you that this graph is very, very true. The shift from getting 95% to 100% requires an insane amount of time compared to the shift from getting 75% to 80%. So let me ask you this. Who is truly the smart kid? The kid who uses their time efficiently to study, or the kid who spends a ridiculous amount of time studying just to get 100%? I really hope you learned something from me today, and if you did, I would love it if you subscribed to let me know that you enjoyed the video, and I'll catch you in the next one.